Greetings everyone. You know, one of the things that I thought was a missed opportunity in the recent Worlds Unite crossover was the meeting between the main Sonic cast and their Boom counterparts. Imagine the kind of things both sides could say to one another. The door was open, but only these three went through. More than likely it's because Sega didn't want the two casts to interact, but still, a missed opportunity. Which is why today I'll be looking at a story that did feature Archie Sonic interacting with a cartoon counterpart. Just from one of the more infamous ones. Yep, Sonic Underground. That show in which Sonic has a brother and sister, they play musical instruments, and are all voiced by Jaleel White. Yes, even the sister.
That's it! I've had it. I need a facial, I need a pedicure, and most of all, I need a massage.
Anyway, I'm not talking about the cartoon today, but the comic story featuring this universe, A Tale of Two Hedgehogs, which is found in Super Sonic Special number 10, the same issue that has part 2 of another crossover I covered months ago, Sonic and Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Before we get started, I should point out that this story continues some plot threads from past issues, and I'll quickly sum them up. Way back in issue 19, a cyborg Sonic traveled to the main universe to find help dealing with Robo-Robotnik, a Robotnik that roboticized himself out of desperation, and now threatens all universes. So Sonic recruited himself from other universes and reluctantly his own Robotnik to deal with this threat. They figured out that Robo-Robotnik will be after a powerful weapon, and a group of Sonics tried to get the weapon first. But Robo-Robotnik was onto them and recruited Evil Sonic to distract them while he teleported the weapon away. The weapon itself was a giant robot by the name of Giant Borg. The Sonics eventually defeated the robot, and each Sonic took a piece of the machine back to their home dimension to prevent anyone from reassembling it. Another thing to note about A Tale of Two Hedgehogs is that it's part of a small series of stories called the Zone Wars, in which Sonic has to deal with alternate reality situations because he's Sonic Prime. The first story introduces the character Sonic the Zone Cop, who comes from a perpendicular universe, hence why he's standing on the side from our point of view. If you want to know, the story I'm about to review is the second Zone Wars story, so let's not waste any more time. We start in the Evil universe as Evil Sonic and his team retreat from Dr. Kintobor's vet tower because they can't get past the shield, and Evil Sonic doesn't have a backup plan. Back at their lair, the evil freedom fighters call out Evil Sonic on how lame he's become. It gets to the point where Evil Antoine decides to take over. Evil Sonic's not happy about this, but the other team members pretty much tell him to shove it and leave. Soon, a voice tells Evil Sonic that he can offer him a better opportunity. While Evil Sonic's not interested at first, a familiar-looking hand grabbing him on the shoulder convinces him otherwise. Meanwhile, in the main universe, Sonic and his friends are having a picnic when Sonic the Zone Cop appears. He needs Sonic, and only Sonic, to stop a new menace, and Sonic's up to the task. Sonic takes Sonic to his dimension, and because said dimension is perpendicular to Sonic's, it looks like Sonic's standing on the side this time. And look at all the Sonics Sonic has to monitor. Anyway, Sonic points out that Evil Sonic's been traveling to other dimensions to get the pieces of Giant Borg from the alternate Sonics. Sonic suspects that Evil Sonic's working with someone, and that someone wants to reassemble Giant Borg. They also found out that Evil Sonic's been to every dimension except one. This one. The Sonic Underground universe, featuring a Sonic playing a guitar, his sister Sonia on keyboards, and his brother Manic on drums. A portal appears above them, and main Sonic and Sonic appear. Based on Underground Sonic's words, Evil Sonic's been here, but this Sonic didn't have a Giant Borg piece. And come to think of it, main Sonic didn't have a Giant Borg piece either. Anyway, main Sonic clarifies that he is not the evil doppelganger by pointing out his trademark shoes, and Underground Sonic buys it apparently. The reason Underground Sonic doesn't have a Giant Borg piece is because Sonic forgot about him. Yeah, I should mention this little retcon. Turns out Sonic's trips through the dimensions happened because Sonic allowed it to happen, which includes the events of issue 19. Anyway, Sonic wants to fix this mistake by having Underground Sonic, Sonia, and Manic give him, as well as the reader, their backstory. Sonic, Sonia, and Manic are triplets born to Queen Alina. Yep, Sonic in this universe is a prince. Regardless, where there's a Sonic, there's Robotnik. Just like his main/SatAM counterpart, he took over their home and roboticized people into his slaves. The Queen separated her children to save their lives according to a prophecy foretold by the Oracle of Delphius. Sonia lived with the aristocrat Lady Windermere, Manic was raised by a good-natured thief named Farrell, and Sonic grew up with Uncle Chuck. Eventually, the three Hedgehog siblings reunited and learned of their true history, not to mention forming a band. And Robotnik roboticized their guardians. So the three started an underground resistance with the hope of one day finding their mother again and overthrowing Robotnik. Main Sonic's impressed with his counterpart's situation and reveals that he's just a freedom fighter with Princess Sally and Tails by his side. Based on the reactions from Sonia and Manic, either Sally or Tails don't exist in this universe, or they haven't met them yet. I should point out that in the Sonic Underground cartoon, Knuckles the Echidna exists. Not only that, but his great-grandfather Athair, a character from the Archie comics, makes an appearance, though he looks much different from his comic counterpart. Now that the backstories have been told, it's time to track down Evil Sonic. Speaking of, he's meeting with Underground Robotnik and delivers Giant Borg just as he said he would. However, it turns out Underground Robotnik doesn't know what Evil Sonic's talking about and has his henchmen Sleet and Dingo drag him into a cell. Underground Robotnik has never heard of this deal because Evil Sonic went to the wrong Robotnik. It was this one hidden in the shadows that made the deal with Evil Sonic. While upset that he lost Giant Borg, he decides to cut his losses as he believes he has enough resources to cause Sonic, and that's the main Sonic by the way, trouble soon. But that's a story for another day. Underground Robotnik is terrorizing his world with Giant Borg, believing he's imprisoned Sonic. He doesn't realize it was an evil doppelganger, but whatever. The two Sonics, along with Sonia, Manic, and Sonic, come up with a plan. Underground Sonic goes in front of Giant Borg and taunts his Robotnik, which leads to a chase into an open field and away from the people. In my opinion, a smart move. Robotnik then fires a heat-seeking missile at Underground Sonic, while Main Sonic and Sonic appear in the cockpit behind Robotnik. Robotnik's naturally confused about this, but puts it aside as his Sonic's coming towards him, along with the heat-seeking missile. They get Robotnik through the portal just as the missile hits the cockpit, destroying Giant Borg. Again. Meanwhile, Sonia and Manic infiltrate Robotnik's cell to break out Evil Sonic, only for him to be arrested by Sonic. As Main Sonic puts it, it's better than being roboticized. Sonic and Sonic bid farewell to the Underground crew. The Underground crew themselves wonder if they will see Main Sonic and or Sonic again. Spoilers, this is the last time we will see Sonic Underground in comic form. Back in Sonic's dimension, he reports to his superior that everything is A-OK. Evil Sonic wants to know if Evil Antoine is leading his team. Sonic says that his team is actually led by Evil Jeffrey, and this causes Evil Sonic to faint. Sonic's fine with this because it means more chili dogs for himself as he removes his helmet to reveal a familiar looking silhouette. First of all, the title of the story is a lie. I know it's a play on the title A Tale of Two Cities, but couldn't they come up with a more accurate title? Clearly there were more than two hedgehogs involved, and if they mean Sonic, it doesn't work either. There were 3, scratch that, 4 Sonics that were important to the plot. This brings us to the writer, Carl Ballers. At the time, he was head writer for the main Sonic book, so more than likely we'll see more of his work when I look at some old issues in the future. As a writer, he's alright, though some stories he wrote were... yeah. But he does utilize continuity as good as he possibly could. This leads us to this story, once again featuring Giant Borg. It's pretty much a plot device to get the Sonics together for this crossover. Evil Sonic here is pretty much a textbook example of how lame the character was before he became Scourge. Sure, he somehow got the Giant Borg pieces from the other Sonics, but he delivered them to the wrong Robotnik. And this was before his lamest moment. Guess the Master Emerald increased his intelligence a bit when he transformed. Now obviously there was more focus on the Sonic Underground universe because this story was probably meant to promote the cartoon, and it does provide the backstory, but it doesn't use all the characters and concepts well. You see, the medallions that the Underground siblings are wearing can transform not only into their musical instruments, but into their weapons. We also didn't get to see much of Sonia and Manic's personalities in this story. Sonia being raised by an aristocrat would have her having a slightly spoiled and snotty attitude. And Manic was being described as the more laid-back sibling. There probably wasn't enough page space available, but a little shout out would be nice. The Sonic in Underground? It's Sonic, no questions asked. And Underground Robotnik pretty much has the same gimmick as his Sad AM counterpart, only he uses 2 bounty hunters as his henchmen instead of Snively. As for main Sonic and Sonic in the story, they did alright, and helped contribute to the destruction of Giant Borg. Speaking of which, I guess being destroyed by a heat-seeking missile to the cockpit stops it for good, because we never see it again after this story. The art here is done by Jim Valentino, one of the people who helped founded Image Comics, and it's tolerable. A little too elongated on certain panels. If you have noticed, Underground Sonic's quills are shaped differently when compared to his cartoon counterpart. I know it's to help the readers tell which Sonic's which, despite main Sonic recently transforming into his more modern look, but it still looks odd. The story gets a 6 out of 10. In the end, it feels average, and it's meant to get the readers interested in Sonic Underground. As I have said earlier, this is the last time we'll see the Sonic Underground universe in comic form. There were plans to create an epilogue story for this universe in the pages of Sonic Universe, issue 50 to be exact, but probably due to the Worlds Collide crossover coming up, and the behind-the-scenes drama, it was replaced with a Metal Sonic story. And now, thanks to the reboot, it may never happen. And I feel bad for those fans who wanted to see some resolution on these characters. Anyway, thank you for joining me for this review, and as always, have a good day, and be safe. This panel here, another reason why Evil Sonic is lame.